Hello and welcome to our latest dairy market update. The recent milk price volatility during the coronavirus outbreak has reminded us once again how much circumstances beyond our control can influence farm profit margins. Sharp price and volume drops like the ones we've seen are bound to create cash flow challenges, even in top performing businesses. But many top performers will have done what they can to reduce the impact as much as possible for their farm by focusing on what they can control. Proactive cash flow management, cost efficiency, and finding ways to boost income can all help gain some more control over your net margin. Today's update focuses on production costs, looking at figures from top performing farms and ways to look for efficiencies and savings. Dairy farmers have not had an easy time with production costs over the last couple of years. The cost of producing a litre of milk has steadily risen, and 2018-19 farm accounts showed the highest cost of production since 2014-15. The costs shown here are full economic costs, which means they include all non-cash costs to the business. These are the costs you can't actually see going out of your bank account, such as depreciation and unpaid labour. 2018-19 is the latest year of accounting data we have available, but estimates based on the latest input price changes suggest costs may have decreased by around 1 pence per litre since April 2019. But that still leaves costs at a relatively high level, particularly when considered in relation to current milk prices. If we break down the average cost of production for 2018-19, we can see it hides a lot of variation between the top and bottom performing farms. We've ranked the farms by the value of their outputs in relation to the cost of their inputs, which is a measure of their productivity. The top 25% consistently have lower costs, whether all year round or block calving. It's worth noting that the spring block calvers' costs were higher than usual in 2018-19 due to the dry weather during that year. This variation we see in costs between the top and the bottom farms is reflected in their net margins, because costs are a strong driver of net margin. The top 25% across all calving systems made a positive net margin during 2018-19. This chart shows just how connected cost of production and net margin are. Each dot is an all-year-round calving herd. The data shows that the herds with the lowest production costs consistently have the highest net margins. If we look at the same chart but with milk price along the bottom axes, we can see that the association between milk price and profit is not as strong. The milk price of the top 25% varies widely, with about 10 pence per litre between the lowest and highest prices. Milk prices have dropped since this accounts data was collected, so margins will be lower, but the data shows it is the farms with the lowest costs that stand the best chance of making a profit. Cost efficiency isn't an easy subject, particularly when you're facing other difficulties in the farm business. But it's worth persevering, as it can make a big difference to your net margin and make your business more resilient to future milk price shocks if you stick with the savings you put in place. The starting point is to know your costs so you can see how they compare. If you don't already know your cost of production, you can use our key performance indicator calculator to work it out. There's a page for you to put your data in, then the calculator will work out a set of KPIs for your calving system, including full economic cost of production. It will show you a page like this so you can easily see how your figures compare against excellent, good and average performance. Always make sure you include your non-cash costs. These are machinery and buildings depreciation, unpaid labour and the rental value of owned land. If you don't factor them in, you can find yourself short after a few years of depreciation have set in, and your figures won't be directly comparable with published data. To look more closely at which cost areas you do well in and find areas where you could improve, you can download our dairy performance results and compare your 2018-19 figures calving system. Common areas where we see the top farms spending significantly less are feed and forage, machinery and labour. These also tend to be big areas of cost, so often good starting points to focus on first. That's not to say lots of small savings can't add up. Trimming miscellaneous costs like subscriptions and admin charges can also add up to reasonable savings. Once you've decided which areas to focus on, the challenge is coming up with ways to save on those costs. It's not always about just spending less, it's often about finding different ways of doing things. For example, it's often not appropriate to cut labour costs directly, but it may be possible to find more efficient ways to do things to get the most out of the workforce on the farm. This can free up more time for you to focus on overseeing and planning the business, which will deliver its own returns. There are a few suggested starting points included in the dairy performance results. Discussing ideas with others involved in the farm, like family, employees and consultants, as well as getting perspective from other farms, can really help. We're still running online events, including strategic dairy farm webinars, where you can see and discuss how those farms are operating. We have plenty of previously recorded online meetings on our website too. You can find more information and resources to help you set target margins and review costs on our Trimming Costs webpage.